Hello everybody, Thomas here. Welcome back to SFF180 and Mailbag Monday for January the 16th of 2017. Sorry that I haven't recorded and posted any new videos in a little while. Got to take a break last week. There was no mailbag. I think the preceding week I only got 2 packages in the mail. You know how during the holiday season and the New Year period I was always talking about, golly, it's usually a slow time of year and I'm not... Well, I guess the slow week finally hit. I only got 2 packages week before last, and I usually like to have 3 if I'm going to do an episode of the mailbag, to make it worth doing, to make it worth viewing. But now, combining 2 weeks worth of mail, I've got a good 10 packages. Yeah, a really good hearty week to show off here, so we're going to check those out in just a second. But first I have an announcement to make, something exciting happening next Saturday, and that is the Best of the Year. The Best SFF of 2016 live show is going to be happening Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. Central Time, here on this channel. And yeah, I did this last year, as you might recall, had a nice big cast of my fellow booktubers, SFF booktubers, joining me. And this year it's going to be a good crowd. I know Elizabeth is coming back. Katie from Katie Loves to Read, Brock from Let's Read has confirmed, Rachel from Colonnati, Samantha from Thoughts on Tomes is going to be joining us this time. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about our favorite SFF, our least favorite, and then whatever else we feel like talking about. And you know, might go for an hour or two, we'll see. But last year's live show was great fun and very popular, and so gonna enjoy repeating it again this time. So next Saturday here on the channel, favorite SFF of 2016 live. All right, and I guess that is gonna do it for announcements. So let's get into these new books, shall we? It feels good to be recording again, I tell you. This is a package from the folks at Henry Holt. Okay, gang, this first one comes from Henry Holt. As I said, the title is 4321. And the author is Paul Auster, and it comes out on January 31st. And this is a slightly different thing than what I might usually get. This is a piece of speculative fiction by an acclaimed literary writer. You know, writes literary fiction, and he's doing this thing that a lot of literary writers seem to love to do, which is occasionally dip their toes into the spec-fic waters, as it were. And this one is described as a meticulously researched and uniquely rendered exploration of the forces that make each of us who we are. 4321 is the tale of a distinctively American character named Archie Ferguson, whose family story arc from Ellis Island to the American dream, in this case Manhattan via Newark, is dotted with what-ifs. On March 3rd, 1947 in New York, Archibald Isaac Ferguson, the one and only child of Rose and Stanley Ferguson, is born. From that single beginning, Ferguson's life will take 4 simultaneous and independent fictional paths. 4 Fergusons made of the same genetic material, 4 boys who are the same boy, will go on to lead 4 parallel and entirely different lives. Family fortunes diverge, loves and friendships and intellectual passions contrast. Chapter by chapter, the rotating narratives evolve into an elaborate dance of inner worlds, enfolded within the outer forces of history, as one by one, turn the page. The intimate plot of each Ferguson story rushes on across the tumultuous and fractured terrain of mid-20th century America. A boy grows up again and again and again. So this sounds like it might be in the same vein of something like, for instance, the first 15 lives of Harry August, where, although, you know, that one, it's the same guy living and dying and being reborn over and over and over again. This is one kid split into 4, apparently. And also the multi-threaded narrative sounds a little bit like Arcadia by Ian Piers, which is another piece of lit fic. That is also spec fic from last year. And Paul Auster, as I said, is a very highly thought of literary fiction writer. He's written books like Sunset Park, Invisible, The Book of Illusions, and the New York Trilogy. And in 2006, he was awarded the Prince of Asturias Prize for Literature. I don't know what that is, but it sounds damn prestigious with a name like Prince of Asturias. All right then. Okay, well, then this comes out the end of the month. I was very interested and very intrigued by the concept when I heard about it, and I contacted the publicist. But 4321 comes out January the 31st. Let me know in the comments. Moving on, a little package from HarperCollins. Alrighty then, this is one that comes out tomorrow. The title is Hearthstone. The author is L. Katherine White. a debut historical fantasy that recasts Jane Austen's beloved Pride and Prejudice in an imaginative world of wyverns, dragons, and the warriors who fight alongside them against the monsters that threaten the kingdom: griffins, direwolves, lamias, banshees, and lindworms. Anybody know what a lindworm is? They say a rider in possession of a good blade must be in want of a monster to slay. And Marybourne Manor has plenty of monsters. Passionate, headstrong Eliza Bentain knows this all too well. She's already lost one sister to the invading griffins, so when the people of Marybourne Manor scrape together the funds to hire a band of riders to hunt down the horde, Eliza is relieved her sister will soon be avenged. Her relief is short-lived. With the arrival of the haughty and handsome dragon rider, Alistair Dyred, Eliza expects a battle. What she doesn't expect is a romantic clash of wills, pitting words and wit against the pride of an ancient house. Nor does she anticipate the mystery that follows them from Marybourne Manor, its roots running deep as the foundations of the kingdom itself, where something old and dreadful slumbers, something far more sinister than griffins. Okay, it is a war Eliza is ill-prepared to wage on a battlefield she's never known before, one spanning kingdoms, class lines, and the curious nature of her own heart. So, there we are. Well then, okay, and then there are lots of Pride and Prejudice puns in the description here. But okay, yeah, Pride and Prejudice and Dragons, basically, from L. Katherine White. It's called Hearthstone, tomorrow, from Harper Voyager. And we got another little package from Random Penguin. And this is a little mass market paperback. The author is Lisa Sheeran. It's called The Ghoul Vendetta, and it is apparently the fourth in a series of hers called The Spy Files, which I guess seem like urban fantasy, but with a little bit more of a science fictional bent, and I haven't read any of these yet. I know I get very, very behind on my mass market paperback original series. Sorry about that. But it says, the agents of supernatural protection and investigations, Spy, are paid to keep the peace, but that's not so easy when an endless evil threatens to tear that peace to pieces. Let's see what they did there. Okay then. Yeah, well, this again, I guess, appeals to the UF crowd, and so if you are a fan of this sort of thing, then here you are. The Ghoul Vendetta, I assume, is a January release, and may very well be out right now from Ace Books and Mass Market Paperback. Okay, getting back to a larger package. This is from Skyhorse Publishing, who have a few SFF imprints. They do Nightshade now, they do Talos, and this has a couple of items in it. So let's see. Wait, one, yeah. Let's see what they are. Okay, well, this first one is from Talos. I guess they're doing a little bit of catch-up with me because this is one that came out way back in October. So they're a bit behind in getting this one to me, but this is a book called Exploded View. The author is Sam McFeeders. It's described as Minority Report meets The Shield in this near-future high-tech detective thriller set in Los Angeles. Well, this sounds like it's up my street. It's 2050, and LAPD detective Terry Pastuska, got it, has drawn the short straw with her first assignment of the new decade. Someone has executed one of the city's countless immigrants, and no one, besides the usual besieged advocacy groups, seems to care. Even Terry herself is already looking ahead to her next case before an unexpected development reveals there's far more to this corpse than meets the eye. And a lot already meets the eye. In a city immersed in augmented reality, the LAPD have their own superior network of high-tech eyewear, Panopts, the ultimate panopticon, allowing Terry instant access to files and suspects and literal insertion into the crime scene using security footage captured from every angle the day the murder occurred. What started as a single homicide turns into a string of unsolved murders that tie together in frightening ways, leading Terry down a rabbit hole through Los Angeles' conflicting realities, augmented and virtual, fantastically rumored and harrowingly true, towards an impossible conclusion. Exploded View is the story of a city frozen in crisis, haunted by hardship and overwhelmed by refugees, where technology gives everyday citizens the power to digitally reshape news in real time, and where hard video evidence is impotent against the sheer unrelenting power of belief. Well, that's timely, I'll have to say. After all, when anyone can forge their own version of the truth, what use is any other reality? Yes, I think a very timely theme indeed. Okay. Well, Exploded View by Sam McFeeders is available right now from Talos Books. And this one I am really excited to see. This one is new, comes out tomorrow from Nightshade Press. It is a new anthology from Neil Clark of Clark's World fame, and it's called Galactic Empires. And let's see what it says. From Doc Smith's Lensman to George Lucas's Star Wars, the politics and process of empire have been a major subject of science fiction's galaxy-spanning stories. The idiom of the Galactic Empire allows science fiction writers to ask and answer questions that are shorn of contemporary political ideologies and allegiances. This simple narrative sleight of hand allows readers and writers to see questions and answers from new and different perspectives. Okay. The stories in this book do just that. What social, political, and economic issues do the organizing structure of empire address? Often the size, shape, and fates of empires are determined not only by individuals but by geography, natural forces, and technology. As the speed of travel and rates of effective communication increase, so too does the size and reach of an imperial bureaucracy. And anyway, it goes on in that vein, explaining sort of the general themes, so it examines the nature of empire itself. And let's have a look and see who all is in this thing, shall we? Because it's got some serious names. All right, you got, I think some of these have appeared before. But let's see. Paul Macaulay, Anne Leckie is in here, Brandon Sanderson, Greg Egan, John Barnes, Aliette de Bedard, Neil Asher, Yoon Ha Lee has a story in here, Tobias Buckle, Robert Silverberg, Christine Catherine Roosh, Robert Charles Wilson, John G. Henry, who, as you might know, is a.k.a. Jack Campbell, Ken Scholes, Robert Reed, Steve Rasnick Tim, Melinda Snodgrass, Naomi Novik, and Ian McDonald, among others. So, yeah, chock full of good names and good tales, I'm quite sure. So, Galactic Empires, out tomorrow from Nightshade. Oh, how very cool was that? Okay, moving on, we have a random penguin package. Okay, then, well, you remember how I just mentioned Ian Piers' Arcadia? Well, it apparently is now available in a trade paperback edition. It came out on the 10th, actually, last week. Arcadia by Ian Piers. A dazzlingly inventive novel of time travel and alternate worlds. And look at the sell sheet for this is even like super spiffy, so really nice. Okay, in case you weren't up on the details of this, Ian Piers actually designed this originally as an app, a novel to be read as an app. And I actually have the app on my iPad, and what you can do with the app is there are something like 10 or more independent story threads going on in this book, and you can use the app to, it's like a flow chart, right? And it starts with the introductory chapter, and then you can either choose to read it all in order as it was written, or you can isolate a single story thread, read it all the way through, or do that with one or more. You can bounce back and forth. You can essentially read this book in any order you choose on the app. But then the book form is, of course, the book. It says, in Cold War England, Professor Henry Lytton, having renounced a career in espionage, is writing a fantasy novel that dares to imagine a world less fraught than his own. He finds an unlikely confidant in rosy and inquisitive young neighbor who, while chasing after Lytton's cat one day, stumbles through a doorway in his cellar and into a stunning and unfamiliar bucolic landscape, remarkably like the fantasy world Lytton is writing about. There she meets a young boy named Jay who is about to embark on a journey that will change both their lives. Elsewhere, in a dystopian society where progress is controlled by a corrupt ruling elite, the brilliant scientist Angela Mearson has discovered the potential of a powerful new machine. When the authorities come knocking, she will make an important decision, one that will reverberate through all these different lives and worlds. This is one that I've been meaning to read for some time. In fact, yeah, I can't reach it, but it's like directly behind me, the hardcover version on the shelf below. But it is now in paperback. And I am planning a review as soon as I can get around to it. So much catch up from last year. But the trade paperback, Arcadia by Ian Piers, now available from Vintage Books. Anyway, very innovative idea, books as apps. Wouldn't mind seeing more of that. Okay, little one from Harper Collins. Okay, all right, those of you who've been around a little while will remember when I got the hardcover of this in. I did not end up getting it into the review queue, but I snarked on this book, The Godwave, so hard when it came out in hardcover because the premise of it is based on this silly notion. Okay, it says it right here. Think of the accepted axiom that we only use 10% of our brains. That is false. It is not an accepted axiom. It is a flat-out wives' tale. It is a falsehood. It is not true. Okay? It's one thing to be a speculative fiction writer and say, okay, well, if it were true that this was the case about our brains, what would life be like in that case, right? You know, let us speculate upon that, all right? It's one thing to do that, all right? But if you're going to premise your novel on the basis that something false is actually true, yeah, I'm gonna throw shade at you quite a bit. In fact, I'm just gonna throw like a gigantic medicine ball-sized ball of shade at you and make fun of you. But anyway, that's what this is about. And apparently, like something is developed. You know, research is done to wake up this remaining 10% of our brains, I guess like the movie Lucy, and then all heck breaks loose, as it were. But it says, the Godwave is at the forefront of a robust, rapidly growing frontier in science fiction, a space in which hard science and epic adventure coalesce to create cross-genre masterpieces. Well, again, I'm dubious, but if you like, I could still read it. I'm not closed-minded to the whole thing, but it is now available in paperback. Came out on the 3rd. The Godwave by Patrick Hemstreet. Let me know in the comments. And moving on down the line, we have a thin little package from Random Penguin. And here we have the paperback version now available of Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel, which I am already on record as calling one of my biggest disappointments of 2016. Got loads of raves. It's one of those books that came out, just everybody and their dog seemed to love it. I'm the guy with the unpopular opinion on this one. As you might know, it is about the discovery of a 6,000-year-old alien battle robot that is found in pieces around the world, and they assemble the battle robot, and then they just don't do a whole lot with it. For the first book, it's like we have this battle robot, and it's told in the form of interview transcripts, which does not exactly, at least in my opinion, make for all that compelling a read. But a lot of people seem to love it for whatever reason. There is a sequel coming out soon, which I assume I'll be getting soon, called Waking Gods. And maybe he will ramp things up in the sequel. But anyway, Sleeping Giants comes out in trade paperback on the 24th. Let me see. I bet you, shockingly enough, they didn't pull quote me in this one. Getting close to the end, and we have something from Wunderkind PR, who are publicists who represent a number of imprints. What do we have here? Okay, this is a book from the folks at 47 North. They got in touch with me about this, even though it came out apparently back in November. But it's called Ocean of Storms. The authors are Christopher Mari, and Jeremy K. Brown. And let's have a look here. I don't believe there's not no, there's just just a note from the publicist saying thanks. Well, you're welcome. But let's see the back. I'm going to have to do it this way. In the near future, it says, political tensions between the United States and China are at an all-time high. Then a catastrophic explosion on the moon cleaves a vast gash in the lunar surface, and the massive electromagnetic pulse it unleashes obliterates Earth's electrical infrastructure. To plumb the depths of the newly created lunar fissure and excavate the source of the power surge, the feuding nations are forced to cooperate on a high-risk mission to return mankind to the moon. Now a diverse, highly skilled ensemble of astronauts and a pair of maverick archaeologists plucked from the Peruvian jungle will brave conspiracy on Earth and disaster in space to make a shocking discovery. Ocean of Storms is an epic adventure that spans space and time, as its heroes race to fulfill an ancient mission that may change the course of humanity's future. Okay, it's on the moon, ancient things are happening, so sounds like a few shades of 2001, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. But you know, I like the moon, and I think that lately it's nice to see the moon kind of coming back into vogue as a setting for science fiction stories like Luna and other stories like that. So here we have Ocean of Storms. Let me know in the comments. And second to last item for this week, this is an arc for a new young adult title. It's called Defy the Stars. The author is Claudia Gray, who has apparently written a couple of Star Wars books. Yes, and it is a fast-paced YA space opera. Okay. Now, I had a bit of a read of this little letter right here before before recording this bit, and it's kind of cute. You know, I understand publicists, you know, they get assigned these books, but this person really, this publicist is awesome, because she really made an effort to, but it reads like, I've just discovered science fiction, and it's this amazing stuff. You know, you'll all like it too. Give it a try. It's so cute, because it talks about like Westworld and movies, and then Star Trek and Star Wars, and there's a new Trek TV series coming out, and so science fiction is you know, suddenly in the pop culture consciousness, and it's like, yeah, where you been for the last 40 years? But so that was cute. But anyway, what's the book about here? Anyway, it's about Noemi Vidal. That's Noemi, not Naomi. Noemi, a teen soldier in an interstellar war, fighting to defend her home planet against Earth's robotic armies. When the disastrous aftermath of a space battle strands her on an abandoned enemy ship, she encounters a deadly mech determined to kill her, until a twist in his programming, maybe you mean a bug, because stories have twists, programs do not. Anyway, compels him to do her bidding, and to reveal a secret which could save her world. Able, Model 1A of the Mansfield Cybernetics line, is his creator's masterpiece, the most complex mech prototype ever made. He not only appears perfectly human, but possesses an artificial intelligence so sophisticated that he can feel human emotions. When Noemi boards the ship he has been trapped on for decades, his programming demands that he obey her as his new commander, even if she's fighting on the other side of the war, and her plan to win that war will kill him. As they embark upon a dangerous journey through the galaxy, Noemi begins to recognize the soul within the machine, and Abel's devotion to Noemi becomes more than a matter of programming. Oh yes, looks like we have outer space insta-love between a girl and her robot, but I don't know, could be cute. Although I will say, just by reading that, the basic theme sounds like it was handled much better in a Hugo-nominated short story called Damage, by David Levine, who wrote Arabella of Mars, and that is online for you to read right now, which you should do. But, all the same, Defy the Stars comes out April the 4th. Let me know in the comments. And finally, for this week, we have a new novel by horror writer Nick Cutter. This one is called Little Heaven. Came out in hardcover on the 10th, so it is now available. And it says, reminiscent of Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian and Stephen King's It, Little Heaven is a haunting novel in which a trio of mismatched mercenaries is hired by a young woman for a deceptively simple task: check in on her nephew, who may have been taken against his will to a remote New Mexico backwoods settlement, what some may call a cult, named Little Heaven. Shortly after they arrive, things begin to turn ominous. There are stirrings in the woods and over the treetops, and above all else, the brooding shape of a monolith known as the Black Rock casts its terrible pall. Paranoia and distrust soon grip the settlement. Escape routes are gradually cut off as events spiral towards madness. Hell, or the closest thing to it, invades Little Heaven. All present here are now forced to take a stand and fight back, but whatever has set its dark eye on Little Heaven is marshaling its powers, and it wants them all. Okay. Gonna be honest, I did start this back in October when I was choosing books for Halloween. I had this as an e-arc, and I read like the first maybe 100 pages or so. Didn't think too highly of it at the time. Without giving away too much. Well, there's the approach that he's taking to the story. It's kind of try-hardy, right? If you know what I mean. But again, I admit I didn't really get into the meat of the story before I DNF'd it and decided I'd rather try something else. So I could give this another shot and see if it improves, or see if my opinion improves. But anyway, if you are a fan of Nick Cutter and a fan of horror generally, then this one is out now in hardcover from Gallery Books. Little Heaven by Nick Cutter. And there we have it, everybody. A really healthy mailbag, I have to say, for mid-January. You guys know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting, exciting to you, which you would like to see me prioritize in the review queue. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, leave a like, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please sub. If you have not done so, that is what helps SFF180 grow as a channel. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store, where there are cool shirts and related merch. All right, and until I see all of you awesome people next time, thank you so much for the support and happy reading.